Now let's look at the other side of a market and talk about the price elasticity of supply. We know that when we look at a supply curve, it's upward sloping. So when we look at the relationship between price and quantity supplied, the law of supply says it's going to be a positive number. But the elasticity of supply looks at the percentage change in the quantity supplied for a percentage change in price. So it's a measure of the responsiveness of the quantity supplied to changes in price. Here are two supply curves we might look at. And this is a relatively steep supply curve compared to this relatively flat supply curve. So if we look at the price elasticity of supply, for this supply curve, we can see that the percentage change in quantity is relatively small compared to this percentage change in price. Meaning the supply curve, or the quantity supplied, is not very responsive to changes in the price level. This is an inelastic supply curve. This would be an elastic supply curve because it's relatively flat. A relatively small percentage change in the price level gives you a very large percentage change in quantity. This is an elastic supply curve. So the price elasticity of supply is different for different goods and services. And what determines the price elasticity of supply? We're looking at a supply curve and trying to determine how responsive changes in quantity are to changes in price. So in an industry, if marginal costs increase rapidly as production goes up, then it will take a large change in prices to get a small change in quantity. And that's going to be an inelastic supply curve. The price elasticity of supply is determined by how rapidly production costs increase as total output goes up. Additionally, we want to look at the time frame that we're looking at. Again, we're trying to figure out what happens to the quantity supplied as price goes up. Well, if prices rise, in the short run, what we'll see is firms already in the market are going to increase their output. They're going to purchase more materials, they're going to hire more workers. But in the long run, we're also going to see new firms enter. So in the short run, we're going to have an increase in output. In the long run, we're going to have an even more significant increase in output because not only are the existing firms going to increase how much they produce, but new firms are going to enter the market. So the short-run response might be limited, while the long-run response will be larger. So the long-run supply elasticity is going to be more elastic than the short-run supply elasticity. Here are the extreme cases. Here's a perfectly inelastic supply curve. This says that the quantity supplied is going to be 50 no matter what happens to the price. So the percent change in quantity is 0. And so this is a perfectly inelastic supply curve. And this is a perfectly elastic supply curve, meaning any change in price is going to give you an infinite change in the quantity supplied. So perfectly inelastic, the price elasticity of supply equals 0. Perfectly elastic, price elasticity of supply is equal to infinity. Now, just like we did for demand, we can use the price elasticity of supply to predict changes in the quantity supplied. Suppose we want to know the percentage change in quantity supplied. All we need to know is what the price elasticity of supply is and the percentage change in the price. If we multiply those two together, we'll get the percentage change in the quantity supplied.